Obviously, my kiddos know about it, but other than that, nobody else in the family.
What if the people closest to you aren't actually in the family? Meri's recent comment about her kiddos has everyone scratching their heads. Who does she really mean? And why does it feel like some relationships count more than others? We're talking about names, identities, respect, and the messy stuff no one else seems willing to unpack. Trust me, this one's layered. There's a lot to break down today, so let's get into it. Hey everyone, what's up? It's Elena, and welcome back to Reality Nexus X. So, Meri's been talking about the carriage house renovations, and she made a little comment that caught everyone's attention. She said she's keeping the space for people who actually care, who are truly interested. And let's be real, that doesn't seem to include anyone from the family. Then she adds, obviously, my kiddos know. Wait, kiddos? Plural? Who's she talking about? Just Leon and Audrey? Or are there more people she's keeping close? Now, Meri clearly has a warm and easygoing relationship with Gwen and Visible. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if she texts or chats with them directly, without Christine even being part of it. And she often refers to Leon and Audrey as her kiddos, which is sweet and likely who she meant. But let's not forget her connections with Janelle's boys, and with Aspen too. There's a broader circle here. Side note, isn't it wild that English doesn't have a better word for an adult child? Like, my own kids could be 40, and I'd still answer the phone like, hi baby. Once your baby, always your baby, right? Meri's always treated many of the older kids like her own, and that's beautiful. But when she says kiddos in the plural, she's almost certainly including Audrey too. I just wish we saw more of those moments. It seems like something really special. Hopefully, they all feel the same about her. We know the older kids have said they had strong bonds with Meri. Logan even mentioned that her house was a safe haven when things in the family got chaotic. That speaks volumes about her kindness and how she showed up for them. And let's be honest, after years of dealing with Kokorach and Sobin, yep, we're going there, it's no wonder she looked drained. Especially when Robin emotionally checked out and stopped even pretending to date her. Meri deserved to walk away and live her best life a long time ago. So let's circle back to the kiddos conversation. Some confusion comes up around Leon, formerly known as Mariah, and Audrey. People trip over the pronouns or get caught up in past names. But here's the deal. It's not Leon, formerly known as Mariah. It's just Leon. Respecting someone's name and pronouns isn't about whether they've had surgery or how they look. It's about honoring who they are now. Some people think Meri might be using kiddos in a weird singular/plural workaround to avoid saying Leon's name or acknowledging their identity. But I don't buy that. Meri's been very open and affirming. She corrects people when necessary and seems proud to support Leon. She's clearly talking about Leon and Audrey, and maybe a few other close connections. Now, let's be real, when your child changes their name, especially one you lovingly gave them, that can hit deep. But at the end of the day, it's their life, their name, their identity. It's normal for parents to need time to adjust. What's not okay is expecting your kid to carry the weight of your emotional processing. And from what we've seen, Meri seems to have done the work. She's showing up as a strong, supportive parent. Now, I know some people still think Meri was weak or hung up on Kody because of how she handled the quilt situation. But honestly, I think it was one of the smartest plays we've seen from any of the wives. It was subtle, strategic, and low-key savage. Think about it. If she had burned the quilt or thrown it away, Kody would have spun that as proof she was still emotionally obsessed. If she sent it back intact, he could have literally covered her pieces with robins. Oh, but what did she do? She said cool, calm, collected, and then took it apart. She saved her pieces, the ones that meant something to her, and left Kody with nothing to weaponize. People overlook that move. But honestly, that was power. She didn't feed the drama. She preserved her story and her dignity without giving Kody a single thing he could use. Kody didn't get what he wanted. He didn't get the satisfaction of hurting Meri. He didn't get to say she was obsessed or bitter. All he got was a box of scraps, literally. When a woman calmly packs up her things, quietly walks away, and gives you nothing to feed on, that's when you know she's really done. And honestly, I hope Meri takes those scraps and turns them into something brand new. Maybe she'll sew a fresh quilt with pieces collected from her travels. Imagine one with a patch from Stonehenge or Paris. That'd be amazing. There's this myth that if you don't argue or cry, you've lost the fight. But in reality, the opposite of love isn't hate. It's indifference. And Meri's response to Robin's junk journal gift? Pure indifference. She didn't rage. She didn't weep. She just didn't care. And that is powerful. Kody's passive-aggressive comment about how other wives might want the shirts was almost definitely aimed at Robin, his one remaining wife, and the only one still trying to play house. But let's be honest. Robin's interest in that quilt isn't about sentiment. It's about control, winning, erasing the past and replacing it with her version of the story. There's a huge difference between Meri's calm craftsmanship and Robin's superficial performances. Quilting takes patience, focus, heart. Meri's always had that. Robin, not so much. Robin has a track record of hijacking traditions, reshaping family stories, and spinning everything so that it revolves around her. She wants to rewrite the past, dominate the present, and script the future. But Meri wasn't playing that game anymore. Her quiet dismantling of the quilt? That was a silent but crystal clear message. I'm out. I'm keeping what's mine. You can have the scraps. No drama, no spectacle, just peace and personal power. It's heartbreaking, though. Kody gets to escape. He runs from discomfort, hopping from wife to wife, avoiding accountability. Meanwhile, Meri had to sit with the grief. Face it, but how she chose to respond. That's growth. That's strength. She spent decades giving to a man who publicly admitted he didn't love her. And now, she's finished. Taking apart that quilt was her own symbolic closure. She didn't need a dramatic monologue, just action. Quiet, final, deliberate. Kody expected a breakdown. He expected tears. Or maybe even rage. Instead, he got a cardboard box filled with scraps and no emotional charge. That's how you handle narcissists. You gray rock them. Stay calm. Show nothing. Give them zero emotional fuel. And Meri did just that. She returned what was his, but kept what mattered. Her labor, her love, her memories. People who haven't dealt with narcissists often don't realize how deeply they feed on reaction. They need it to survive, but Meri took herself off the menu. This whole quilt situation also shows how some people try to erase every trace of previous relationships so they can claim sole ownership. Robin wants to control every memory, every symbol. That's not what plural marriage is supposed to be. That's not unity, it's domination. Meri's response, though, a subtle, elegant screw you. Not loud, not messy, but powerful. She didn't give them what they wanted. She gave them what they deserved. Nothing. And now, we've got Kody openly admitting that he needs a ton of attention. Shocker. That's probably why he loved the chaos of polygamy. Wives fighting for his time, kids orbiting him like satellites. He was the sun, or at least he thought he was. But when the kids grew up and started having their own thoughts, when the wives stopped revolving around him, he couldn't handle it. Because here's the truth about narcissists. They will tell on themselves if you listen closely enough. They'll admit they're selfish, that they crave risk, that they get bored easily. They'll say things like, if I don't love you, it's your fault. That's not love, that's ego talking. That's manipulation. Real empathy, not in his vocabulary. Kody doesn't love people. He loves the reflection of himself in their eyes. And when that reflection fades, when people stop admiring him or questioning themselves to please him, he crumbles. Let's not forget the cherry on top. Kody even had the kids out there hunting for a church that included him. Not one that fit their spiritual needs. Nope, just one where he wouldn't be excluded. it's always about him. And now, word is he's spiraling. The drinking's increased. His last marriage is shaky at best, because deep down, Kody doesn't want a wife. He wants an audience. And when the spotlight fades, so does his identity. Having 4 wives was a full-time job, and let's be honest, responsibility is the last thing Kody Brown ever wanted. Now, he's stuck in a dull marriage with Robin, and it's barely alive. Not entirely her fault, either. Kody drained the life out of her. She looks depressed, he looks bored, and the second things get tough, he starts fantasizing about running off again. Imagine being a narcissist and becoming the butt of a national joke. You can't even walk into a grocery store without someone snickering at your expense. This man craves the spotlight, and now he can't handle the heat. I give him and Robin 2 years max. Robin might stick around because, let's face it, she's a narcissist, too. Just sneakier about it. She and Kody are playing the same game, clinging to whatever money they can still squeeze out of the other wives. But if someone better, richer, or more flattering came along, Robin would be gone in a heartbeat. And Kody? He already has 1 foot out the door. He's jealous, straight up jealous, of Christine. She's thriving, living life on her own terms, free. Meanwhile, Kody feels caged, stuck in a marriage with one woman who no longer worships him. This man is a wild animal who thrived in a chaotic harem. He needs eco-stroking to survive, and Robin's done trying. She blames him for leaving the fundamentalist group, for tearing the family apart. And when the TLC money dries up, so will their relationship. Robin might even make his life unbearable just to push him to leave. So she walks away with the house, the kids, and half of everything. But here's the kicker. They'll be broke. No show, no income. And let's be real, Kody can't hold a job or run a business to save his life. Remember when the show tried to make him look like he had a job? Now, it's just beer, a dad bod, and a guy who used to talk about having 100 kids so he'd never be told no. That quote is so absurd, it's almost impressive, especially before your morning coffee. There was a time when Kody had a bit of light in him, but by 2016, it went full dark, and it's been a slow, sad spiral ever since. People love to blame Robin for the downfall, but really, it was always Kody. He pushed for patriarchy, demanded obedience, and expected submission. Robin followed the script, but not out of loyalty. Just habit. Sure, the show still pulls in viewers, but let's be honest, these later seasons? Bleak. Gone are the awkward but wholesome early episodes. Now it's just emotional chaos, and the only thing keeping people watching. The wives finally standing up, walking away, and reclaiming their power. The Vegas cul-de-sac was the beginning of the end, and Flagstaff made it worse. In Vegas, each wife had her own home, her own space, and her own rules. That independence, it worked. For them, not for Kody. Once they stopped sharing one big house in Utah, the dynamic shifted. They didn't socialize much. Meri was isolated. Robin kept her distance unless she had to show up for the cameras. Even therapy couldn't fix it, it only made everything feel heavier. And when they moved to Flagstaff, the gloom followed. Kody grew up as one of 12 kids, and you can tell he wasn't the favorite. So what did he do? He recreated that dynamic with his own kids, favoring some, ignoring others. Even Wynn wasn't impressed. He used one wife as a decoy to hide from another. He lied about his whereabouts. He wasn't cheating in the traditional sense. It was more immature than that. Avoidance, escapism, sneaking around like a teenager. And now that the fun's gone, he's probably not even with Robin that much. She won the prize, only to find out it was a man-child and a mountain of emotional labor. She's raising kids she refuses to let grow up, and she's weirdly okay being miserable. But once those kids leave the house, that marriage, over. Kody can't survive without attention. For years, every episode was all about him, what he wanted, how he felt. The wives were barely people until they got their own homes and started living for themselves. And that's when Kody started to unravel. He blames Utah for kicking them out, but the truth? He wanted the fame. He could have stayed off-grid, quiet, peaceful. But that wasn't enough for his ego. The move from Vegas was a massive misstep. They had the perfect chaos, the perfect drama, and the perfect setup for Kody to feel like a king. Rumor has it the move was for the kids' education, but let's be honest, he just wanted one home again. But the wives had tasted freedom, and they weren't going back. Kody kept relocating the family hoping a new zip code would fix things. It never did, because no matter where they went, he was still the problem. When one wife had an issue, he'd run to another. When the kids struggled, he'd hide with the younger ones who still saw him as the hero. But eventually, even that stopped working. It's painful to watch. A grown man who refuses to face the damage he's done to over 20 people. Christine, Janelle, Meri, they're free. Kody's still clinging to the spotlight, confessing that he needs attention. Which, honestly, sounds like the prelude to a scandal. Because Robyn and her kids, they'll never be enough. This is a man who used to thrive on being the center of the universe, the sun that everyone orbited. Now, that solar system has collapsed. Remember those painfully staged Halloween episodes where the wives pretended everything was fine? Kody was glowing, living for the costumes, the camera time, the fake smiles. Now he's just a guy texting ex-wives, begging for respect, demanding loyalty, gaslighting whoever still picks up the phone. The harder he tries to be the star, the more everyone runs. And the dancing, always. The dancing. Remember when Kody tried to lock everyone down during COVID, even when Nisabel needed surgery, but had zero problem officiating a wedding? Classic Kody move. I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up selling Coyote Pass to developers without ever building on it, just cashing out and hoping the wives get their fair share. Honestly, just hearing Coyote Pass feels like a trigger at this point. And yeah, expect him to cheat or try for another wife. He can't stand not having multiple people vying for his attention. Robyn turned out to be not as special as he thought. No one else left to blame now. Guys who need multiple partners, whether through polygamy or cheating, often hide something deeper. Maybe insecurity, maybe something else. Wouldn't surprise me if Kody's been on the down low all along. Nothing wrong with that, except for all the lives left in the wreckage. Watching him dart from house to house like a hyperdog makes it clear stillness isn't his thing. And no, I never believed he was at Robyn's 24/7. She got her man-child, and now she's raising kids she won't let grow up. They're both miserable. If those kids move out, that marriage is done. Let's talk about the quilt. Kody's basically like a constant irritation, always needing attention. But the quilt? The funniest part is, it wasn't even finished. For those who don't quilt, here's a quick rundown. Quilting is a multi-step labor of love. First, you piece together the top flat designs made from cut-up fabrics like t-shirts. Then you sandwich batting, the warm middle layer, and a backing fabric. You baste all 3 layers loosely, then stitch through them all in tiny stitches. That's quilting. Finally, you add binding around the edges to keep it from fraying. That quilt, missing the binding, clearly unfinished. If she really intended to finish it, she wouldn't have left it incomplete, or removed the binding to make cutting it easier for the show. So why would Kody want the t-shirts back? Most sane people don't ask exes for sentimental stuff just to mess with them. The only reason is to hurt her, take something meaningful, and use it to control or provoke. Some say maybe one of the other wives wanted the shirts to make a family memory quilt, fitting the bizarre family narrative Kody's always tried to force. But realistically, there probably wasn't enough fabric left to make another quilt. It just felt like another way for Kody to stir the pot, remind her of the past, and get a reaction. Because if he didn't care, he wouldn't keep poking the bear. T-shirt quilts are especially tricky since the fabric stretches. Cutting and sewing requires stabilizers and patience. Piecing the top takes time, but quilting, the stitching through all layers, is the most time-consuming part. Some people hand quilt, others use machines or even hire pros with long arm machines. Some use shortcuts like tying the layers instead of stitching, especially in warm climates where thick batting isn't needed. But binding, the edge finish, is always the final step, and this quilt never got that far. Cutting up a quilt that took years might seem harsh, but maybe it was never truly finished emotionally either. Using scissors instead of a seam ripper to take it apart wasn't the work of someone wanting to preserve it. It was about ending it. Whether the binding was removed for filming or never added, the quilt was a symbol of effort, history, and something that was never complete. Maybe that's why it was so hard for her to let it go. Because something stitched together over decades, imperfect, stretched thin, is more than just fabric. It's a story, and a very sad one at that. So what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care, and much love to you all.